don't forget that you have the final models and texturing. I changed the due date from Thanksgiving Day to the Monday the 2nd when you get back at 9:30 a.m. There's also 2 other animations which I'm going to change the due dates of them, but I just want to like go over them really fast because they're also due when you get back. So the blah blah blah. So the first one is refining the animations. So this is basically like if you've not finished anything done with the texturing and lighting, they'll probably be due pretty much the same time, but like finish that. And then go through and really use this opportunity. So when we get back, it's like the last week that you have before finals, so hopefully you would sort of give yourself enough time to render in there. But really started focusing on the sort of secondary motion of your characters. If there's like for the sack, if he's like jumping and stopping, like his little ear flaps might kind of go through, stuff like that, but for whatever your objects are. Wind up and follow through if your characters are like jumping, do anything like that. And make sure that everything has like a sense of weight, etc. So basically go through and just like refine the existing existing motions of your object so that everything feels like as refined as possible, like you've really taken a bunch of care with not only the main motions of the characters, but also like the extra stuff, again, like little flaps on the ears or anything like that. So just sort of like, what I'm looking for is mostly secondary motion, honestly, but like, also make sure your characters don't feel like super stiff or super floaty, and really try to like push personality into them if you've not been doing that already. But yeah, this is like kind of the thing where it's like finish anything that's not done mostly. And what I'll be looking for in terms of like grading criteria is character life. So can you see what your character is thinking and feeling? Do they have a sense of personality? If they're trying to do a sassy dance, do they feel like they're doing a sassy dance or just sort of like awkwardly shuffling down the sidewalk? That kind of thing. I'll also be looking for character motion weight and secondary motion. So again, stuff like flappy ears. If they're jumping or doing some kind of walk cycle, does it feel like they're floating or does it feel like they're actually doing like reasonable weight? Or like have, reasonable gravity interactions, that kind of stuff. And I'll also be looking for the camera animation. So I don't care really, like if you guys want to deviate just in general from the final, or from your original clip, for whatever stylistic purposes you want, totally fine. I'm mostly just looking for the camera stuff for, is it moving slowly or is it really jerky, and does it do a good job at sort of helping convey the story of your animation. So honestly, I'm probably not going to compare these super closely to your original clips. So if you, again, want to make changes, go for it. I'm mostly just looking for, does whatever camera stuff you have actually make sense? And then for what to submit, play blast of the most up-to-date animations like you've been doing previously, and a zip file with renders every 35th frame of your animation. So I actually don't know how many frames that would be, but pretty much the same deal like you've been doing before, to sort of proof more of your renders. So that's the refining of the animation. Again, I will probably change the due date of that and send you guys a notification of like when I've actually swapped that to. But it probably will not be Thanksgiving Day. Any questions on that assignment? All right. The other assignment that you guys have due, and this one I'll probably actually just change to class on when we get back, like on the Thursday, is a demo reel test. So I think I read over briefly what the demo reel was a few weeks ago. But basically you're going to be dividing your screen into sort of different stages, I guess, of the animation process. So usually I'll do 4 screens, and one of them will be the original clip, another one will be your storyboards, and you want to just cut them up and sort of sync them up with the timing of the original clip. So whatever is happening in your storyboard corresponds to what's happening in the original clip. And then you might have one with like some rough animations, and then a final render would also be in there too. But basically you're just going to sort of do a little test one of these. Feel free to just sort of put a placeholder like final animation will be here kind of thing. But make sure, like, get your storyboards in, get like your rough animation in, and just make sure that everything is sort of set up and makes sense. If you set this up in something like After Effects or Premiere, like most programs honestly, save that file, and then when you're done with your final rendered animation, you should be good to just sort of like throw it in there and just re-render it out, and you won't need to like reset up your whole demo reel. Make sure that stuff is, there's like audio, stuff like that, and then things should be relatively synced up. Additional notes, you don't need to, and I actually prefer that you don't add any kind of like opening screen with like your name or anything like that. Like just put the animation up. That's totally fine. If you guys ever want to use this for like a demo reel or something, feel free to add that later. But I don't know. It just takes longer to look at if there's like a bunch of real stuff, and I know who you guys are at this point. But yeah, so for that is basically just going to be, do you have all the required parts and like quality of the demo reel? So I'm looking for, if you're going to do like a play blast or something like that, again, like turn off all of the extra skeletons, joints, that kind of like gross sort of crud in your scene. That would qualify as, part of the quality. And then the required parts would just be, whatever you have up to this point. So definitely original clip. They're all listed up here. Your storyboard, animatic. Obviously you don't have a final render, so I'm not requiring that one for this particular one. But basically just sort of set the thing up and make sure that you have a chance to get feedback on it before the final one is due. That make sense? Cool. All right, so like I said, those are the assignments. So you technically, I guess, have 3 things due when you get back. The demo reel, final models and textures, and then refining and doing like secondary animation and stuff like that. I would shoot, and this is me being paranoid because I also have just terrible render times whenever I do stuff. I like to try to start rendering a week out if I can, but realistically that's probably not a thing for most people. Other thing I do want to note really quick, and I will probably also remind you of this in an email, I don't think I've gotten the official schedule for finals week yet. It's possible that normally my classes are just sort of held at the same time they normally are. There is a chance that the final for this class might be on Tuesday instead of Thursday. I'll let you guys know as soon as I find that out, but if that is the case, then all of your finals would be due on the Tuesday, where we would come in and like have crit instead of Thursday. So do be aware that is a possibility of having things basically due 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, my God. Everything's due tomorrow, guys. Due 2 days prior to what you may have expected. But yeah, so I think that's actually all the assignment stuff. Have a lovely Thanksgiving next week. Any questions on any of that? Cool. All right.